Hi, it's me again. Um, this week we're going to start putting all of this together to make the blag. I have one side done already. My webcam has decided to be a little cranky today, so it is requiring me to hold it. What can you say? Anyway, so we are going to put everything together today. Well, I'm going to show you how to put everything together and how I do it, and then over the week you can put everything together. And then next week we will create the top of the handle of the bags. The bag, sorry, bag. I do apologize if I seem a little spacey today. Um, I woke up. This is going to sound odd if you've never felt it, but I woke up hearing the electric moving through my house and the lights are making sounds. Yes, this is a normal situation for me after I've had seizures. There's nothing to worry about. I'm fine. I just have to listen to the sound of all the electric and the sound of the lights. It's okay. So if I get a little spacey every now and then, I apologize. My hair is a mess. I'm wearing my lounge clothes, but that's nothing unusual for when I make these videos. So I will be right back with you and we'll get started putting all this together. Just to let you know, this is what I have to contend with to record your videos. That is Miss Onyx deciding that she wants to watch my camera. So give me a second and I'll get rid of her. Well, not literally, but yeah. This is the size of our little girl now. But yeah, this is her when I'm trying to record. She's not spoiled at all.
Oh yeah, not a bit.
Okay, so now that we've got the little munchkin out of the way, and don't get me wrong, that little munchkin is always, and she knows that she's always welcome to sit and play. Okay, so I have put one side together already, and this is how I chose to do it. I put the cluster dream square in the middle and then surrounded it, just like I did on my pink one here. So today I'm going to show you how I put everything together. I use basically just a whip stitch. I have had no trouble with it. This bag works perfectly for it. It doesn't give me any issues. It doesn't cause me any problems. That's what I use. You can also crochet them together using slip stitches, but honestly, I have found that that tends to be a little too tight, and I want my bags to have a little bit of stretch. They're a little more forgiving. Oh, excuse me. So this is the right side of my work, and if I flip it over, you can see that I've put it together with my orange thread, because honestly, as much as I love all the colors, orange is not something I usually work with. And I still have this much left. So I figure I had more of the orange left than I did the gray, so we'll use the gray. Okay. So for this lesson, this class, all you need is a yarn needle. I use metal. I'm sorry. I use metal needles. You're not required to use metal needles. I do. I prefer them to the plastic ones, but that's me. If you have plastic ones, they work just as well. So we're going to set this aside. And then this is how I decide how I'm going to do it. I have my stack of squares. These are all the squares, including the ones for the sides and the ends. And I'm just going to show you how I put everything together. Um, oh, I need to weave in the ends first. We'll do that in just a second. I completely forgot that we hadn't weaved in the ends last week. I do apologize. Okay, so I am now going to set up how I decide how, because I remember I left two of them undone so we could go through and do that together. So let's do that real quick. I do apologize. I'm really good at that. Okay, so I have two squares here that I have not wove the ends in yet. Okay, so for this we do not need thread on your needle. Okay, so I am going to zoom this in, scoot the camera down just a hair, so that way you can see it a little bit better as to what I'm doing right down here. So give me just 1 second. Okay, so now that I have this all the way down and you can distinctly see my stitches and all that, um, let me find me a double point needle so I can show you things. Yes, I use a dish towel to block my game cover down here because for some reason my camera just does not like this design. So I use a dish towel to block it so it has less colors that my camera has to determine. Okay, so this is the right side right here. If you flip it over, and the reason I can tell you it's the right side is because if you look at where the stitches are, connect to the lines below it, um, it's completely smooth. But if you flip it over, you see right here, there's a little bit of like a raised edging, and that always tells me this is my wrong side. Okay, so on this one, we just have two yarns to weave in. We have the starting magic circle yarn, and we have the end piece. So I want to start with this magic circle one. So all you do is you go ahead and you thread your needle. I am not going to judge you if you lick it or whatever. But if I don't have nails on, then I can just squeeze it and usually get it to go through my needle. Usually, mind you. Yeah, man. Don't make a liar out of me today. I may have to lick it. There we go. And I will tell you if I'm giving this away, I don't lick. If I was giving this away, I would not lick it. I would actually, what I usually have is a damp paper towel next to me. Excuse me. Give me just, I got the coughing spell done. This is the joy of having had COVID, and you automatically have a cough afterwards. And so every now and then I just get a big coughing attack, and I do apologize for that. Okay, now this is the important part of doing this. If you can see right here, you can see that my yarn has gone like this. This is the way that I have worked it, because if you pull this back right here, you can see it comes out through this double crochet right here. Oh, excuse me. Now, this is part of the reason why I tell you you cannot work your ends in with a magic circle on the magic circle part. Because if we just put this in through here, that's not going to stop it from getting bigger and looser. Okay, so what I want you to do is give it a little tug, make sure that that central hole there is closed. Okay, now if you can see, this is the first double crochet right here that I just put my needle into. Okay, right there. Okay, we don't want to use that one. We want to skip that one, so we'll have our yarn going over it and then go in to the next one and just kind of, weave in and out of them. Pull your yarn as you need and just keep doing that around the circle. Okay. And honestly, I just usually try to make one loop around to where I come back out at that beginning point. It gets a little tight. And then if you want to just, doubly secure it, go back the opposite direction. Again, I have never really had an issue, so I don't normally do it. And then just snip this close to the spot. And now you have weaved in your end. Okay. Now to do the sides here, you're going to go ahead and thread your needle with your tail. And this style of weaving in can be done for any part, any end tail that you have. You can do the same thing whenever you have multiple colors in your design and you didn't work them in. You can do this right here, the same style. Okay, so as you can see right here, this is where I pulled my loop through. Okay, so I want it to be kind of tucked right there, like that. So you've got most of a straight line right there. So what I do is I come back here to the back, and if you see right here is the V shape. Let me see if I can get this to focus a little bit better. Yeah, but just a little too close. Okay, that looks better. Okay, you can see the little V shapes right here. Okay, so this is where I pulled through my yarn. Now, this is how I do it. There are several other methods of doing this online. You can look up YouTube, how to finish it off. There are more hidden ways than I have. But I am just putting these all together. And so you cannot tell once you've sewn them all together, you cannot tell that I did it this way. Okay. But if you're doing an edge that is going to be seen, there are more hidden ways to do it. I just always have put a finishing on mine to where I can't see them. So it never bothers me. But how I do this is you see this V right here, which is basically just behind this one. I will take my needle, go under that back stitch right there, pull it through. I'm about to lose my needle case over there. Now go onto the back, okay? And apparently my scissors are deciding to take a flying jump too off of my table. Okay, now if you look back here, you have this little bump right here. I go down it. I don't tighten horribly because I want that little bump right there. Okay, now this is your stitch right here. Okay, so what I do is I go down under this stitch, under this yarn right here, and I pull through. And then this is the set of where they connect into the double crochets underneath it. So I go under those, and then I go under the next set, okay? And then I will go through one more set here. None of this is, you do not have to do it for the number of stitches that I have gone under. You can do this after one stitch. But I do recommend making sure that you leave your tail long enough so that it has a little room to wiggle. Okay, so then I pull this through. Just make sure it feels a little tight, a little taut. And see, to me, that just looks like I've added just, it looks fine to me. But this is me. Okay, now to put a lock on this, what I do is I went under this stitch, and this stitch. So now I go back under, I basically wrap my tail around this stitch. Okay. And then I just go through under 3 or 4 more stitches. Okay. And then pull that through. And you can see right here is my tail. Oh, right there. You can see right there is my tail. Okay. Now I am crazy, and on my ends, because I know they are going to be stretched and pulled and tugged, I always give a very long wind in. And then to lock it one more time, what I do is, so my ending piece was, I started here and I've gone all the way around the corner down to this one. Again, you do not have to do it this long. You don't even have to do it this way. This is how I was taught to do it. And so this is what I'm teaching you. I then, once I've gone this far, I then lock this stitch again and I go back under, back. I usually do about 4 to 5 stitches, which is what I've done. I've done 4 right here. And pull that through, take my yarn off my needle, give it just a little tug, and then I snip it. And you have one complete square that has been completely wound off. And you can't see the tails or anything. Okay. Now, this one, let's do this all one more time. I missed a little tail here. Hold on. Say bye-bye. Okay, now this one is my other cluster dream stitch square. And I worked my ends in as I did them, so I only have 2 more to do here. Okay. But I wanted to show you this one because this one has holes here. So I wanted to show you that this does work just as well on a granny square that has holes in it. Okay. So we're going to go ahead, and I always start with the center thing. I always do. I don't know why, but I do. I give it a tug to make sure it's tightly closed. Now this one, because of the frayed edges that it has here, I'm probably going to wind up having to lick it, but we're going to try. And all I do to squeeze it is I just take it, hold it in my hands like this, take my needle and make sure it's where the holes, the needle head, the needle head is going, is not showing up. So basically the thin side of the needle, of the head. Push that down, put my finger there, and then I squeeze the living daylights out of it. Okay, you can just barely see it in here. Then I pull the needle out, squeeze the yarn a little bit more, and then I turn my needle to where the head is open, and basically I just push it down. And if you have nails, don't even try this. I took my nails off. I try to give my nails about a couple of days to a week break in between putting new sets on. It's my way of trying to get my nails to look decent. But yeah, I know my nails look like crap. They do not, my natural nails have never been good. And I have tried all the supplements, all the herbs, everything. So, again, we're going to do this one more time for the magic circle. Okay, give it an extra tug. Make sure that hole is as close as you can get it. And like I said, you can see right here, you can look at it and see this is where the yarn comes out, is right there. Okay, so we skip the first one. We go under a few of them. There we go. And you're going to have to turn your work around and around. And it is easy with small granny squares like this. It can get a little tricky when you have the more round squares, but the principle is still the same. Okay. It just may take you a little bit longer. Okay, pull that in, pull it taut. My two big fur children are sleeping on the floor right now, which I'm very happy for. So they're being very quiet. Then I go back under one to kind of lock it in and then just continue going around. And sometimes you may have to bend the yarn, bend the piece a little bit and all that. And just continue doing that around. Okay. And then pull it. Okay. So, one thing I do want to go over with you, what happens when you have a tail that is too short to put on a needle and wind in? In that situation, all you need to do, and you may have to do this a couple times, is take your needle, go ahead and weave it through a few times to where you have your needle underneath things. Now, fold your work down to where your needle is sticking up. Okay. Now thread the needle and pull through. Okay. That's what you do when you have a tail that is too short to go to thread your needle and wind it through. Okay. I did not know that for the longest time. I always figured if my tail was too short, I was just in big trouble. But you're not. Okay. So that is the center stitch. All done. Okay. Now, the principle is the same for the ending piece, even with one that you have holes in it. You always have these stitches down here. If you look at the back, you always have these stitches down here that connect to the row beneath it. Okay, so we will be doing the same exact thing that we did on the gray one that was all one color. These stitches may just show up a little bit easier because you can see where they are. And I probably should have started with this one instead of starting with the gray, but I don't always think that way. So thread your needle again. We're already at 22 minutes. Sheesh. It's okay. Thread your needle again. Okay. Now, this is the back because you can see the little bitty nub right there of where the thing is, of where my magic circle tail is. Plus, you can see these lines of where I worked in my yarn. Okay. So this is the front, but at the same time, you see this side is almost completely smooth looking. Okay. But if you flip it over, even if you didn't have these lines right here to tell you, if you look, this one looks a little more 3D-ish, if that makes sense. And if this is the side you like to look at, then do it this side. It's your decision. It's not mine. It's yours. It's whichever way you like seeing it. Okay. I prefer a smooth front like this. It is less sensory issuing with me. So I prefer it like this. To me, I'd rather rub my hands on something like this that's fairly smooth with just a little bit of texture than something that has a whole lot of texture like this. But I'm a texture girl. Okay. If things don't feel right for me, then I have an issue. Okay. So, same basic principle here. You can see the V's right here. And this is the V of where I pulled my yarn through. And this is the V that's basically kind of looks like it's right behind it. So I go into that one, pull a little taut, turn it over. Here is that stitch that I told you, that little bump that I told you about. Pull the yarn through there. Now, there's this one. And the other thing is, if you remember in These are not double crochets right here. These are triples. If you remember from the pattern, these are actually triple crochets right here. So, whoopsie. So I put it through that one. And you see, we still have quite a distance between where my yarn is and where these stitches are. So what I do is, since I went this way through this one, see there's another one right there. I go the opposite direction for this one, okay? And now you see the yarn is all going down the stalk, the stalk, the shaft, however you want to call it, the stitch body. If you look over here, you can't see that because it's hid behind the stitch. Okay, so now we're here. So all I do is go under the stitches for just a little bit. If I'm going around a curve, I'll usually turn because I'm at a corner, pull the yarn through. Remember, you just want it taut. You don't want it tight, because if you tighten it, then you're going to pull this down and it's going to be noticeable. Okay, so now I lock it in, by wrapping around that stitch, and then going under a few more stitches, pulling it through, and let's do another group right here. And so now I want to lock it one more time. So I will go under that one and back the way I came, pull that through and pull it taut, give it a little stretch, and then snip it. Okay, there's two of them. Okay, so this is already 27 minutes, but we will go ahead and push through to show you how I put everything together. Okay, so give me just a second. Okay, so now, since I did this one, if you notice, my two center squares are opposites. You see, this one starts with orange, gray, and this one goes gray, orange, gray, orange. So this is one side of my bag. I have the center surrounded by orange, the opposite color, and then I have the grays in the four corners. I'm going to do the same basic thing for the other side, but I am going to make it the opposite. Okay. So even though I have already placed this and I know that I have everything, before I go start putting everything together, I like to make sure that I have everything. So, and I know exactly how it's going to look. So what I do is I sit here and I just do this on a table. This is actually my computer table. I video game here. I crochet, I knit, I do it all here. And let's raise this up a little bit because otherwise we're not going to see the bottom row. Okay. So I know that I want the grays to go around this one. Come here. So I just set it out and I lay it out just like how I want it to look. Okay. You don't have to do this. This just helps my mental understanding. Okay. And then when I'm done with that, the way that I put my things together is I personally just like short little sewing jaunts like this right here. I want to do as few of those as I can. You can start putting this together any way that you want, but what I do is I will take these three, join these three together, and then I will join these three together, and then I will join these three together. Whee! My double point needle is getting a little happy. Then what I will do is I will take these 3, join them with these 3, and then join them with these last ones, okay? And then that gives me one whole fit. So way I do this to get it set up for me to sew, and I have everything set, is I will take each row starting from left to right and pick them up and put the left on top of the center and then those 2 on top of the last one. And then I set those aside. I do the same thing with this row and I set it up there. I do the same thing with this one and set it up here. Okay. Now, this is my strap and my bottom. Okay. I do the same basic thing. This is one side is 3 squares. Okay. And that's how this goes. Okay. So you look at this, then you see, okay, this one is a orange ended one. So that means I need to put a square one here, a gray one here. I go ahead and start the next one because this is a simple 3-row repeat. So let me scoot these over. Okay. This is a simple 3-row repeat of how to do it. So this one is actually the first of my bottom. Okay. So that one's gray. So then I need an orange one next and then another gray one. Okay. That's my bottom. Okay. The next one after this gray will be an orange. So this is starting up the other side and then a gray and then an orange. Okay. Now, the way I do my sides and bottoms is I will sew this all into one giant strip of 9 things. Okay. So these get set up here. So everybody's all in a row up there. So let's start with this. And so I can show you how I put everything together. And then during this week, you can do that. Okay. So what I do is I take the 2 that I'm going to join together and have them sitting here ready to go. I thread my needle with the color you choose to do this with. And you can even do it in a color that is not even one of these. Okay. It will not show up that much, but it will show up a little. So I did the same thing on my mom's blanket and I did it in a yellow, which was not used in the blanket at all, other than the border stitch around it and the joining. It is actually quite cute. Okay. Now, you remember me telling you how to tell the back from the front. Okay. Now, this is how I put mine together. I put mine, apparently, I had a little hair there. I put mine right sides together, or the sides that I choose to be right. I put them together. Now, if you look at this here, you can see you have V-stitches that are running in the opposite directions. Okay. I'm hoping you can see those. See, there's V's with the points going this way, and you have V's with the points going this way over here. Okay, how I stitch things together is I pick up one loop from the back, farthest away from me, side, okay, and then right directly across from it, I pick up the one closest to me and stitch them. I haven't attached my yarn here yet. I'm just giving you a quick little brief little thing before we start doing it. And then go that to the back again and do the same thing. Pick up the side that is the farthest away from me and then directly across from it, pick up the one that is the closest to me and pull it through. This is a whip stitch, okay? I have never had a problem with this holding. Now, to tie the end down, okay, we basically do the same exact thing as you do when you weave in your ends. Okay, so this is the corner of where I'm going to start right here. So I go down about halfway and I stick my needle underneath that stitch right there. Okay, and then I do the same thing on the next stitch and I pull that through but don't pull it all the way. I pull it through to right about there. If you're not comfortable doing that, leave a little more tail. You can always cut it off later. Okay, I pull that there. I lock my yarn in by wrapping that stitch. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And if you look on the front, you will see a little bit of orange right there, but honestly, you're not going to see it. You will not notice it. The only reason you notice it is because you put it there. Anybody else, I have never had anybody notice it. Then I go under these stitches until I get to the one right before my stitch hole. Okay, pull my yarn through. Make sure it's just a little taut, and I lock it one more time. Okay. Now, this is my first stitch that I want to pick up right here. So, you see this little stitchy this little yarn right there? I grab that because I want to go up the stalk or the stem or the shaft of the stitch, but I don't want to have it majorly be seen on the outside. So I am climbing, so to speak, right now. And just like you did on reverse, then you go up this little back one right here. Okay, now you're at the top. Now, if you look at it here, see, if it's just sitting there, you can barely see the orange under there. And I mean barely see it. But now if you pull it taut, you still can barely see it, but you can't see it. Okay, so now this is the first stitch that I want. So I'm going to go into, if I'm looking at it at the right side facing me, I'm going to stick my needle into the stitch that is the furthest away from me. Okay, pull my yarn up. Okay, now this is my wrong side of my orange, of the one that I'm attaching to this. So what I want to do is find my end here, okay? And if you look, this is the chain one space, which is right here where I added on the gray. So now on this one, I want the loop of yarn that is the closest to me if I'm looking at it on the wrong side, okay? So you stick your needle through that and then you pull it and they're going to come together. Now it is essential. You are not tightening this. You're not trying to strangle it. You're just making it taut, okay? You want it to have enough room for when we open it that it will lie flat, okay? So if you look here, and if you want, if it makes you more comfortable, let me see if I can find one. Nope, I don't have a loose one. If it makes you more comfortable, get you a stitch marker, one that opens like this, okay? Go to the other end, and you see this right here, this stitch is my chain one stitch, okay? So put your stitch marker in the loop that is farthest away from you, and then look at your top piece. It should have the wrong sides facing you, and also put that in the chain one space. Put that stitch marker in the loop closest to you, okay? And then close it, okay? Basically, right there, you have the whole entire thing is attached, okay? Very, very loosely, but attached, okay? If that makes you feel more comfortable, do so. There is no harm in it. This can come out when we get there. So now, what we do, okay? If you look at your V's here and you look at my gray ones here, the next stitch over is this one right here, okay? So you stick the needle in the loop that is furthest away from you. You can pull it. Again, remember, make it taut. You're not strangling the yarn. Leave enough room for it to breathe. Okay, and directly across from that stitch is this one right here. So you put your needle down the center of the stitch into the loop of yarn that is closest to you, and then pull the yarn through. Okay, do the same thing on the next stitch. When you get the hang of it, you can do it all in one swoop. Okay, if it makes it easier for you to pull this yarn over and hold it in the back, do so. It's not a big deal. Then pull the yarn through. Again, you want this to be taut, not tight. Okay, so do that again. And you're going to have times when the yarn is going to want to do this. It's going to catch on these other pieces or on the corner. Just flip it up, pull it taut. Okay, do this all the way. Do this all the way across. And just keep matching him up, going across V's to V's. Okay. Kind of hoping this one is going to give me yes. Okay, now if you look here, there's a V there, a V there, a V there, a V there, and a V here, but I still have an extra one right here. Okay, it is not a big deal. Okay, you can fudge this, I promise. So I know that I have one too many gray V's. Okay, but my lining up corner to corner is correct. So all I do is do one V right here into that orange stitch, and then I take this next stitch here and I put it in the same orange stitch. Okay, works every time. You can fudge these things. Just don't do the entire set of fudging. If you have one extra stitch, fudge it. If you have two extra stitches and you know it, then spread those two stitches out. If you have three or more, then I would be looking and seeing if you made a mistake in your pieces. Okay. If it's one or two, I will fudge it as long as it doesn't look bad. If it's more than one or two, I may wind up redoing the piece. Okay. All right. So now we're at the last stitch that we need to put together. Okay. So stick your needle in, take your stitch marker out. Sorry, ignore that. And then pull that needle through. Okay. Now when you open it, see, you can see the orange where it connects in with the gray, but it's an interesting little subtlety. Okay, now to finish this piece off, okay, I always wrap the yarn one more time this way, and then I will finish it off down this side of the gray square. So once again, find those little stitchy things right near here and climb down the post. Okay. And once you get used to it and you know exactly what you're looking at, you can climb down the post in like one or two sets. But even if you need to do it just one at a time, go ahead and do that. and then just weave in the ends just like I showed you before. Lock them in. And then snip, and you've put your first set of pieces together. Okay. Now, your next question to me, I know, is going to be the simple fact of what do you do when you have intersecting four corners, like right here? Okay, on this bag, I want it to stretch. I want it to be able to move. So I left them alone. Okay, now, since this hole is a little bigger, it might be easier to show. Okay, you can see this here, and yes, this is a large hole. Normally, if I would close this hole up, but I want this bag to stretch, so I'm leaving it open. What you will do when it comes to these holes right here, make sure each one is connected really well. And then if you want, take the backside of it and where the two are joined together, take your needle and thread and then go back through the corner stitches and join them up real tight, and that will close up your hole, okay? And you won't see it, okay? But I want my bag to stretch and give, and so I know that the tighter that I make this, the more stress that's going to be on it, and the more chance that I'll have yarn breakage. And I don't really want that. Even though this is cotton and it takes a lot to break it, it can still break. So I leave my holes for things like this open, um, and loose like this. So this doesn't, for this bag, this is just fine. But if I was trying to close it up completely, what I would do is I would go through each of these stitches on the corners and actually go through both sides of the stitch. So that way it has more of a grip in it to hold on to it. So what you need to do is go ahead, make sure as you put these together that you are putting them together the right direction, okay? See, if I had kept this one like this, I wouldn't be putting it together correctly because it would have gone gray, orange, orange. That's not, I know that I don't have any colors, any squares that match next to each other. So when I'm going through this and I'm just watching TV or something, which is what I usually do when I'm joining squares, I'm like, oh, wait, this isn't right. So I know that I need to flip something. Okay. So that is how you join them together. And when you get all three rows done, then join everything together. Your front and your back should be 9 squares all together. And then all you do is start at one corner, put the right sides together for the joined end pieces. Okay. Attach it to one side. Make sure you leave one side open. Okay. And then your bag will come inside out. Okay. And then just sew the one side of these square of your strap, of your handle and your straps together, and then sew the other side. It will look strange. It will look funky. Once you get everything put together, turn your bag inside out, and we will be ready for next week. If you have any questions, please message me, leave a comment, contact me on Facebook Messenger, email me. The emails are all over the website and everything. Okay, there is no PDF for this. So this part you will need to watch the video. Okay, so have a wonderful week. Happy crocheting, and I will see you next week.